Hey folks, my name is Ben Eddings and you're watching Cast the Bones. On this episode of Cast the Bones, I'm going to be looking at a kid's game, Pharaoh's Gulo Gulo. And I'm going to be telling you about another favorite of mine from recent times. I also want to tell you a little bit about the prototype that I'm playing. It's called The Lord of Blank Faces. Let's cast the bones. Pharaoh's Gulo Gulo is a game by Haba. They're a company from Germany who make games for kids, lavish, beautiful things. They respect kids. They respect them enough to give them games that are fun and look good. And this is the game. You're trying to travel through the desert and move into a pharaoh's pyramid and get into his tomb to steal his treasure. But it's all based around this trap here, these balls. And here's the mummy. You have to avoid him too. Kind of laid back, cool looking guy. And these scarabs that are printed on the board here, you have to collect those. You need two to enter the pharaoh's tomb at the end. And you also have to hand them over to the mummy if he ever catches you, because he's moving around that board. The game's really cool. You take control of one little adventurer from a little selection. They don't have special powers or anything. They're just little tokens. And to advance through the map, you turn over a tile, and whatever color that is, you have to draw that color boulder from the trap. Or you can select a color that's already revealed and draw that boulder of that same color and advance to that tile. It's a nice little design, but it's all about these balls. And what you have to do is pull the ball out of this trap without knocking over the pharaoh's staff, which is that stick that stood up in the middle. It's a lot harder than it looks. And what I love about this game is that kids with their little hands, this is my buddy's daughter here, they can get in a little bit easier with their fingers, so it's an equalizer. It gives kids a little bit of an advantage over the adults. The adults have a trickier time. Haba have just done a great job here, and I think this is a great game to have in your collection if you know any kids you can play with, or even for some adults to play with when you've had a few drinks. In the bleakness of winter, it can be difficult to imagine that the springtime ever actually comes, but it does. Spring always rolls around. Myself and my wife, we used to go picnicking in the spring all the time. It's different waiting for the spring to come around when you know you're going to spend the springtime alone. In the winter, when it's dark for most of the day, particularly here in Scotland where I live, it's dark a lot, and I like to play games in the winter that allow me to allow me to imagine that I'm in the sunshine. Photosynthesis is a game about growing trees. No, really it is. That's what it's about. It's a game about light, nature, and growing trees. I love the forest. I knew when I saw this game for the first time that I had to have it. Really, it's an abstract game. You plant seeds, and then you can spend light points to do things with those seeds. You can grow it into a small tree, grow it into a medium-sized tree, then a large tree. Then you want to finish a life cycle, and that allows you to score points. To do all these things, to gain new trees and to grow your trees and all that good stuff, to drop seeds, you have to spend light points. And the way you get light points, well, it's from the sun, obviously. The sun shines upon your trees. But the cool thing is that some trees block other trees. Some trees put smaller trees in the shade. And so as the sun moves around the board, You have to think about how you're laying out your trees so that you're not blocking yourself off from getting the light points. It's a really clever game, a lot going on. My God, it's so beautiful looking. I love how this game looks. This is a game my wife would have just adored. The beautiful autumnal colors in this thing. So as the game as the game goes on, you can just imagine the smile on your loved one's face as you start to grow all these trees and you're making this beautiful forest, accumulating points, and it's really one of these games where it's kind of simple and it is an abstract game, but there's a lot of beauty in it. It's a game built from beauty up. Obviously, the designer thought this could look stunning. This could be magical. Let's make this game, and you've got to respect that. It's not the greatest game I've played this year or anything, but it might be the most beautiful. It's one that makes you think. And this stag, one of the last trips I took with my wife, we drove up north towards Glen Coe, and there was a stag just off the side of the road, and I couldn't believe it. It came right up to my wife. It came right up out of the wilds onto the roadside, and it's been a long time since I've been so affected by something. It's been a long time since something affected me the way the Lord of Blank Faces has affected me. The Lord of Blank Faces is a prototype that I've been sent. It's nothing more than a rule book and some pieces. But I've been playing around with it this past little while, and there's a lot you can do with this thing. There's not much I can tell you about the Lord of Blank Faces just now. I'm not allowed to yet. But I have spoken with the creator, and he has told me that I will be able to show you a little bit more information soon. But the game is played on a grid. The game's played on a grid, and it's a two-player game. And it's a battle game. 1v1. One player at this side of the table and another player at this side. Each player has 3 units. 3 and only 3 at this point. 1, 2, 3. The units are drawn from an army list. It's not called an army list, but in a lot of games it would be. In fact, they're not really even called units. What they're called are effigies. And each player has 3 effigies each. These effigies are imbued with power. They are summoned into existence. Personas enter the effigies. And these effigies, each with unique abilities, unique powers, go into battle against each other. Ultimately, these effigies fight until some are dead. And then when enough blood has been shed in the battle, that's when the Lord of Blank Faces arrives. When he comes, or she comes, or it comes, the object of the game, is to fend him or her or it off. The first player to defeat him is the winner. I know this doesn't sound... Now, this might not sound too amazing right now, but what I can't tell you, what's top secret at the moment, is how these effigies come to exist. I can't say I love the game, but I'm not proud of how much I love it.